Welcome to our fifth Santa Barbara Unified School District Parent Workshop. Tonight, we're going to be talking about relational repair. And before we get into our material, we'll introduce ourselves. My name is Melissa Lowenstein. I am AHA's Director of Content, Training, and Adult Programming. And I also am part of AHA's clinical team. So I'm a therapist also working with AHA. And I will pass it to Mari.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Mariangelica or Mari. I work as a facilitator for AHA and as a coach. I'm also a positive psychology, health, and wellness coach. And I'm excited to be here learning with you all. I pass it to Caitlin.
Thank you, Mari. Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin, and I am the school liaison at AHA and also a lead facilitator here. And I'll pass it back to you, Melissa.
Thank you. And I want to just give a shout out to Sarah. I'm not sure she's going to want to turn her video on. There she is. She is our wonderful tech person who will be watching the Q&A and making sure everything goes smoothly with our tech, which is, if you are familiar with Zoom, is a big job and very important. So thank you, Sarah, for helping us out with that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to you, Caitlin.
Thanks, Melissa. Yes, so a little bit about AHA. AHA is an educational nonprofit that has brought social emotional learning and community building to over 60,000 students, educators, and families in Santa Barbara, Carpinteria, and Goleta since 1999. AHA equips teens, educators, and parents with social and emotional intelligence to dismantle apathy, prevent despair, and interrupt hate-based behavior. By cultivating empathetic leadership, AHA transforms schools, families, and communities into welcoming, nourishing, expressive, and inclusive places where youth and adults work together for the highest good.
And right now, we're going to go ahead and do something we always like to do at the beginning of everything at AHA, which is a little bit of mindfulness, just to bring us all here, transition into this webinar and all the things we're going to learn together. So I'm going to invite you all to get into a comfortable position, whatever that means to you, and let's bring the attention to ourselves by closing our eyes or gazing down if that feels more comfortable, but just noticing ourselves for a moment. No need to do or change anything. Just notice the breath, first of all. Notice the air coming in and out of our bodies. Notice the weight of our bodies on the chair, bed, wherever we are. Notice how we're being held by the floor, the chair, the bed. I'm going to invite us all to notice the sounds of the space we are in right now. Notice what could be the farthest away sound we can hear. What would be the closest to us sound we can hear? It could be even our breath. I'm going to invite us all to hold or touch both of our palms of our hands together and just rub them for a moment and notice the sense of touch. Maybe with one finger touching the palm of the other hand, going around all lines, textures, noticing the sensation. Maybe switch hands. And very gently, I'm going to invite us all to open our eyes for a moment or look up. Notice the space we're in, colors, the textures that we can recognize. Notice the screen. We're observing. What colors can we recognize in here? What faces? What's here? And I want to invite us all to take a long, deep inhale and a longer exhale. One last time, we're going to take an inhale together now and a longer exhale. Thank you, everyone, for doing a little bit of mindfulness with us, and I'll give it back to Melissa.
Thank you. Lovely. And I'm actually going to leave that beautiful slide up here for a moment. I'm gonna start us off with a story. And I actually got this story from Tara Brock's podcast. Tara Brock is a mindfulness meditation teacher, and she's a psychologist. And she shared this story, and I thought it was just perfect for today. I'm going to pretend it happened to me, but I have to give credit to her for this story. So a mom is planning dinner for herself and her young son, and she tells them they're going to have frozen pizza. What parent hasn't done that, right? On a busy day. And he puts up a big fuss. No, I don't want frozen pizza, Mom. I don't want it. At first, she's understanding and she tries to persuade him. She's a gentle parent. She wants to be compassionate. She shares her reasons, and he continues to protest. She grows anxious. Is he spoiled? Have I spoiled my child? Why is he being so picky and difficult about this? And what have I done wrong as a parent that he can't just accept that one night frozen pizza? Meanwhile, it's escalating. And he's actually upset enough to start crying. And she maybe calls him a spoiled brat because she's losing her temper. And she feels a little guilty that she can't make him a home-cooked meal that night. She's been too busy. But doesn't he know that some kids don't have anything to eat? And oh my gosh, why does he have to make my life so difficult? And finally, he agrees to have the frozen pizza. He looks up at her with tear-stained cheeks and says, okay, Mama, fine, I'll eat it, but couldn't we at least heat it up? So no matter how many times I tell that story, I feel it in my heart. Who hasn't done that as a parent? Misunderstood what their child was trying to tell them or what their child needed, and they said or did something they regretted. So, we all have these moments, right? We all have moments where we harm someone else. We almost never do it on purpose, but it happens, right? And just notice for yourself, how does it feel to think about this? Think about a time when maybe you did or said something that was harmful to a child in your care, or maybe to somebody at work. How does it feel? If you're a good person, which if you're in this webinar right now, or if you're watching it, I 100% know that you are a good person. Emotions like shame and anxiety can come up because we don't like feeling like we've hurt somebody else, right? And this part of this relational repair conversation is about we all do it and it's okay. The responses that we have often to having done harm can leave it unaddressed. We feel so bad that we make excuses, we defend ourselves, we don't talk about what happened, or maybe we even over apologize and take responsibility that's not really ours. So we're going to talk about a way to skillfully repair harm that we've done and how we can work on that with our children instead of doing that thing where we just try to force them to apologize when they don't want to, when they've done harm. So it's a simple, reliable strategy for repairing relationship is what we're going to discuss tonight. And it's also about building what we at AHA call a culture of repair in our families, where we have the tools to manage our emotions around our mistakes, to acknowledge what we've done, that maybe has been harmful to others, small things and big, to offer a meaningful repair when that happens, and to follow through with and be accountable for making that repair happen. And it allows for the truth that even if the other person has done something harmful too, you only have control over your words and actions. I only have control over my words and actions. And in a difficult moment where harm has been done in both directions, you can always start by taking responsibility for your contribution and working to make things right. So I'm inviting you to take a moment to write down one time where you did harm and might like to offer a repair. So just take a moment and think. It might not have been today. It might have been a long time ago. I have unrepaired harms from long, long ago. Just for purposes of practice and for applying this to yourself, it's good to come up with an example. And you can feel free to type your example into the Q&A if you want to share it with the other folks in this meeting. So I'm going to pass it to Madi, and she's going to talk a little bit more. Oh, here's our example slide. Yes, thinking of an example. And then we're going to talk about repair and parenting with Madi.
Yes. So I hope you go that second to write down or think about your example. Before I just jump into this, but just gonna take a breath, give you time. So why is repair especially important for parenting? It is, of course, important for every relationship we have, but especially for parents. I am a mother of two. And just now I was thinking something I need to repair with my daughter that I might tell you later. But the importance of us as parents learning how to repair with our children is because we're making a difference between an apology and a relational repair. Apologies stop the conversation. I'm sorry. That's almost dismissive sometimes. But the repair, the actual repair, we're gonna learn in a moment how to exactly do it, opens up the relationship. Repair teaches children that a failure or mistake can be an opportunity for building relationship instead of the end of the world. This is probably one of the biggest treasures I've gotten through AHA and all this work with this emotional intelligence or social emotional learning is the repair, what we're doing today, because it's such a relief to know that I can be a human and I can be a good human, good enough human if I know how to repair. So refusing to just move on and pretend nothing has happened. Showing up for your family, for our family as imperfect and growing rather than trying to be perfect is such an important thing. Going back to a moment of disconnection and reconnecting. So I mess up as a mother all the time, and knowing that I can reconnect and bring that back is so, so beautiful. So what happens if we don't repair? Parent or mother or, father, mother, or caregiver can become scary to the children, to the child. This is helpful to make sense of what has happened. The child will have to make themselves, so they don't have to make themselves bad, internalize that they're a bad person, but rather they can see their parent or the world. Sorry, I'm being very confused right now. So let me explain. So they don't, if we don't repair, they take it, they internalize it. They become the bad person. They take it on themselves. So we don't want that, of course. And repair creates and enhances fear of failure, which stands in the way of developing healthy boundaries and promotes people pleasing. So as adults, we need to learn and practice the skills. So, and if we do that, the children notice and it all makes sense to them. They begin to practice that too. when we can own our own process of learning this skill. I remember at the beginning of learning this, trying to make a repair to my daughter. She's the oldest one. And she would be like, "Why are you acting so weird?" And I would say, "You're right. This sounds very weird even to me, but I'm learning. This is a skill I want to learn because I want to be connected to you and I want to repair something I did wrong." So it's been a very beautiful process for me. So I'll bring it back to Melissa.
Thanks, Mai. Yes. So let's use the example of the mom with the pizza, right? So if I don't go back as that mom and repair with that child, I've told them that they're spoiled. I've told them that they're overreacting. I've yelled at them when really all they wanted was not to eat actual frozen pizza, right? So if I don't go back and repair that with them, they're going to internalize, oh, I must be those things because mom said I was. They're not going to say mom doesn't know better than mom just had a fit or whatever. Like a child doesn't do that. They need their parents to be right. So moving on, what's not a repair? Okay, I'm going to put on my theatrical mom hat. I do have kids, but they're very big now. Okay, so if I'm that mom in the pizza story, I might say, instead of repairing, you are awfully picky sometimes. It makes sense that I would assume that you were being picky tonight. To take myself off the hook for yelling at him for wanting unfrozen pizza. Or the way you talked to me yesterday was so rudely, like, let's say we're even now. Defending. And I know it's hard to imagine saying something like this to a child, but I know I've done it. When we feel defensive, when we feel ashamed of ourselves, sometimes that's what comes out. Explaining, "Oh, sweetheart, I've had a crazy day and I'm in a terrible mood. That's why I lost my temper with you." Which is nice for them to know, but this is not about me. I'm not the one who got harmed. It's the child that got harmed. So if I'm talking about myself, they're going to walk away feeling like I haven't really considered them. And then there's the famous pretending nothing happened. Oh, I'm going to go, once I realize I've done something that was harmful, I'm going to go take a break, and then I'm going to pretend that it didn't happen. I grew up in a household like that. When people got upset, everybody vanished for a minute, and then everybody came back, and it was like nothing happened, and it was very confusing for me. Yes. Minimizing, making fun of something that just happened, or, oh, don't be so upset. It was just a misunderstanding. Half-hearted apologies. I know I've heard this one too many times. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry that what I said was upsetting to you, which is not a repair either. And then over apologizing, which includes overindulging the child because you feel guilty or ashamed of something that you've done that maybe was harmful to them. That's also not a good thing for the child either. So consider, you'll see on the slide, there's a list of the things that I just explained. Which ways show up most in your world? And which do you do the most? Because we all do these things sometimes, and there's no bad about that either. We're all learning, like Mari said. And consider which others do to you when you've been harmed. What's the one that you hear the most? What's the one that you really never, ever want to hear or see again? Again, if you make this personal, usually an AHA group, there's a lot of interaction and we talk about how these things apply to our lives. And we want you to at least think about that while you're with us, if you can, or maybe talk about it afterwards. And then I'm going to pass it back to Caitlin to talk about what, if these things are not meaningful repairs, what is?
Thank you, Melissa. Yes. So what is a meaningful repair? In AHA, we love to use the acronym EAR. It's kind of an easy way to remember this. And it stands for empathize, acknowledge, repair. very simple. So let's unwrap that a little bit. What is inside of that? So first, empathize with yourself first. Absolutely. So emotion regulation is everything here. Noticing if you're flooded with anger, frustration, shame, or something else, you're only human. And then realizing the importance of just calming down before trying to repair. So maybe saying something like this: I just said some things to you that I really wish I hadn't, in a tone of voice that maybe makes you feel a little uncomfortable or unsafe. And I'm feeling really bad about that. So I'm going to take a few minutes to just kind of try and calm myself down. And then I want to come back and repair with you. So just giving something like that a go. And then realizing that when you are calm, you will be able to better empathize with the other person, to just recognize and sit with actually how they are feeling in response to the harm that occurred. So that's empathizing. Moving on to acknowledging, the A. So acknowledging, simply saying what you did without any explanation or excuses, as hard as that can be, just letting it rest, letting it be exactly as it is. So maybe trying something like this: I yelled at you and assumed you were being super picky about dinner when you actually just wanted to not have the pizza frozen. Just stating it exactly as fact, and then going back to the empathy. I imagine that must have felt frustrating and scary. Is that true for you? Does that feel true? Kind of checking in, seeing how the child is maybe feeling about that. And then letting the other person tell you more about how they felt if they want to, or just get an agreement around that. Just even a nod is okay. And then to the repair portion. So maybe trying and saying something like this: I would never want you to feel that way because of me. Is there anything I can do to repair this with you? And just seeing if anything comes up. It's just an offering. And this is where listening becomes super important. So often acknowledgement and empathy are enough to actually move back from disconnection to connection. And that really is the goal here. A repair is a bid for connection. So we're trying to reconnect, and just that offering goes a long way. So if they suggest a repair, that's wonderful. That's great. Do it if you can, and negotiate to make it doable if it's too big of an ask. So for instance, if the repair that they come up with is something like, can we maybe go to Chuck E. Cheese instead of eating frozen pizza, or go to Disneyland, or something maybe that's kind of unhealthy, like, I'd love to have a triple scoop of ice cream for dessert, or extra screen time. That's maybe where you pause and think about something that actually might be more doable. If they can't think of anything, you can actually make a suggestion of something that addresses the harm or helps reconnect you. So for an example, this would be like saying, how about we take some time after dinner to play ping pong? Maybe that's something that would sound kind of fun. Or how about I write you a special letter, including things that I appreciate about you? Something intentional and heartfelt that actually reconnects you with the other person in an authentic way. Wonderful. So going all the way back again: ear, empathize, acknowledge, repair. That's the goal. And I'm going to pass it back to Melissa.
Thank you. Yes. So I'm gonna model with my frozen pizza story. I am mom, and I'm imagining this kid about 8 years old. I don't know why, but that feels like the right age. And I'm going to call him Noah because that's my son's name, Noah. So I would go to him after I had a chance to calm down because I'm feeling bad about myself. I'm going to tell him I'm going to go take a minute. I'm going to come back. And meanwhile, pizza's in the oven, right? And I'm going to say to him, Noah, I was really yelling at you back there. My voice got really big, and I'm imagining that maybe some of the things that I said were, part of that bigness, that I may have said that you were spoiled. And I imagine that that felt really uncomfortable and scary, and that you felt maybe like I was misunderstanding you. Is that true? And I'm checking that out with Noah, and hopefully Noah will just nod his little head. Yeah. If there's more to it, hopefully he'll tell me. And I'll say, well, I would never want to make you feel that way. I totally get that I did not understand what you were wanting, and I didn't ask you good questions to find out more. And so I wonder if there's anything that I can do to repair this with you. Just like that. So that takes maybe a minute or two. And hopefully he'll suggest something that will work for both of us. And I want to say something too about explaining ourselves, because as parents, we do have opportunities to teach important things to our children through explaining after we've messed up. So if you do want to explain yourself, ask the other person after you've done the repair. Take care of the harmed person, the harmed creature, and then ask, can I explain to you what was going on for me? I would love for you to know what made me have such a big reaction. And that's good for a child to know. When it's adult to adult, and you may find that this is something that comes in very handy for you with other adults. We use it all the time at AHA. Adults tend to be less interested in the explanation, but children really do want to understand your behavior. And it's a way that they learn how to behave themselves. So we wanted to make sure to include that. And Madi is going to talk a little bit more about when a child does harm, then what? Because this tool that we've introduced to you is really all about you taking it and using it with others. And there may be moments where you want to help your child lean into this as well.
Yes. So yes, absolutely. There will be opportunities, we hope, that for our children to also practice repair. However, I think it's important to say that we want to do this only when a culture of repair has been established in our family, and we have gotten used to doing this. So it wouldn't feel weird to the child to have you suggest them making a repair with someone else when they haven't seen you model that. So also it's important to do it in a non-judgmental and calm way, without being too attached to the outcome, more for the process of the empathetic process of feeling the other, the acknowledgement of the statement of what happened, and then the ask for what can be done for repair. So coach them if they're open to it. So you can use repair to have them make something right around a broken household rule, or harm to a sibling, or yourself, a parent, caregiver, a friend. You can say, I need you to make a repair around going beyond your allowed time on your device, for example. And so you can ask, do you remember the steps, the EAR acronym? Empathy, acknowledgement, repair. Go around those. Make sure you do not cast it as a punishment or add punishment to it. Because again, this is just an opportunity to get back to harmony and connection and doing the right thing. So we don't want to have an association, a negative association with this. And of course, appreciate them for every step they take toward meaningful repair and going back to connection. For younger children, I do have younger children. I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. maybe the acknowledgement or empathy are as far as we will get, and that is fine. So we can ask, how do you think that felt for the other person? How do you think the other person felt? Let's go make sure they're okay. Or how do you want to make this right? And maybe ask them and give them an agency and the opportunity to think for themselves and imagine what could be done. But that's pretty much it. And so also one thing that I forgot to say in doing this or coaching our kids to do this is the calm piece. The calm piece. I really think I got that from today, listening to everything. It's important for us to be calm before approaching or trying this repair. So thank you. And I think it's back to all of us and some questions and answers that you might have. I hope so. And so feel free to chat your question, write down your questions. Melissa, I don't know what you want to.
Yeah, we have our
add
window
something.
open. And there's no questions in the window right now. So I want to encourage folks, if you have any questions about this, anything you want clarified, we actually have plenty of time. This went very quickly. We're scheduled to be here till 7:15. We can have more conversation. And if there's anything else that any of our panelists want to say or share,
I would love to share a personal story that actually is happening currently for me, and just learning all this or relearning, because I always feel that when I go around these things, there's always new that I get and that I learn and that I get to practice with my own children. So yesterday, my daughter, do you mind if I share a story while we get some questions?
go ahead.
Okay, I got a call yesterday from my kids' school in the morning, so school time, and I was like, okay, what happened? I get the phone and they're like, hi, your daughter is here in the office. She's feeling a weird sensation in her ears. And I'm like, okay, is she having fever? No, she seems fine. She just seems uncomfortable with the feeling of that. And I knew this because she went to a party that had a pool and she was just having a sensation. And I think she gets scared when she was just by experiencing not being able to hear as well. But I still got serious about it, and I made an appointment to the doctor today, and she was so mad at me. She was just, I just wanted to let you know that was feeling uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean I'm sick. How come I can't, it felt to me like I need to repair. So I'm planning now my repair, because it felt to me that she only needed to express her sensations, and that she kind of felt a little betrayed by me, because she always thinks that I take them to the doctor all the time and they can't complain about their bodies, and I really want them to be open and to trust that they can say, I feel this, I feel that, and that there's not going to be, the doctor is not a punishment or something that will just block them from expressing their sensations in their bodies and stuff. So I'm thinking that I'm going to repair after we finish today, and saying, I'm thinking, what am I going to say? So Melissa, do you want to coach me?
Oh, sure. Sure. Okay. So you would go to your daughter, right? And what's a good place or time? When do you usually have talks before bed?
Yes, bedtime is a great moment. Everyone's open to talk a lot.
So you could bring it up with her then, and you could say, well, just tell me what you would say. Pretend
I
you're
would say, Lala, I noticed yesterday you wanted to connect with me through the office and let me know if you were feeling uncomfortable. And because of that, I immediately made this doctor's appointment, thinking that you were sick, and I took it really far. And I'm realizing that sometimes could feel scary to you to express how you're feeling. If you think I'm always going to take you to the doctor, and I want you to feel trustful and open in telling me all your feelings and sensations. So that must have felt frustrating and scary. How can I repair with you? How
Oh,
did
I know exactly what I'm going to say. I'm Lala.
Okay, what are you going to say?
Okay, don't make a doctor's appointment for me without talking to me first.
And I think that's reasonable. And I would say you're right. Next time, before making the appointment, I will talk to you and we will assess together if that's a good next step to do. But of course, sometimes I will have to make the call. I'm the mother.
Yes. If it's not if it's not an emergency or a serious situation. Yeah, that's wise not to promise that every single time uh you'll get her permission before. Yeah, so it's a negotiation, right? And I think it actually is really helpful. And I wonder whether Sarah would be willing to come on screen to have this piece of the conversation, because Sarah actually is my child, and she grew up with this repair thing as part of her world, especially in her adolescence. And maybe she's not going to come on screen. That's okay. Either way.
Hi,
Oh,
sorry. I'm just plugging in my laptop.
that's okay. So did you hear what I said?
No.
Okay. I said that just because you have in your adolescence, you learned about repair and it happened in your family and in your house. I think it can be hard for adults, especially with teen children, to imagine how this would actually work in a home with teenagers in it.
Mhm.
So I thought Sarah's 23 now. And so I know that for me, it always felt important to say I was repairing, like to name the thing that I was doing with the child.
Mhm.
And then that just became something like as soon as you heard that, you knew if you had a choice, right? I would love to repair with you. Are you open to that right now? Want to repair with you about something that happened yesterday. And maybe they will be and maybe they won't be, especially if it's a teenager. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I feel like most of the times you have repaired to me in my life have been very casual. Like it hasn't been like a drawn out thing. Like once it kind of becomes part of the culture of how family interacts, it can be like 15 seconds, like right after something that felt kind of icky happens.
Mhm.
It's just like kind of cleaning up the bits and pieces, and it doesn't have to be complicated or difficult.
Yeah. And do you use this with your friends and like your boyfriend, and has this become part of your
I use
life?
it with my boyfriend. Took him a minute to get used to it. But yeah. And just I think, like I said, as it becomes more of like part of your vocabulary of interacting with a person,
Mhm.
it feels less clunky. And like you're doing a thing.
Mhm.
That can sometimes come off as like, oh, like you're repaired, like you're, ahaing me. Which I've gotten a lot from people who didn't grow up used to this type of interaction. So once it kind of just like, sometimes you have to get past that part of like, yes, I'm doing this thing, like Marty was talking about earlier, like I'm
Mhm.
practicing this new thing, bear with me.
Mhm.
And I think in time, in my experience, people have gotten used to it, and then it kind of becomes part of their language, and it becomes part of the language of your relationship, and
Yeah.
it becomes a little bit more seamless and um, default.
Thank you. I put you on the spot. That was beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it really is useful to have the structure and to be clunky. A lot of the things that we introduce in these workshops are these sort of clunky strategies, techniques, whatever. And it takes a lot for us to kind of go against our conditioning, the way that we were raised by, by our own parents who all did the best they could, right? Um, so especially in moments when you're having big feelings and you want to make a different choice about how you react or respond, it really helps to be like, okay, ear,
Mm.
empathize. Okay, empathize first. Okay, acknowledge, and then you're in it. And then at the end, you have a beautifully different result than you might have if you didn't have this tool. So I'm a big fan of being clunky and awkward until it becomes part of who you are and part of your family relationships and family dynamics. I'm getting some thank you very muches. People are leaving. Thank you if you have to go. And I'm feeling like what's wanting to happen now, unless Caitlin, you have something you want to add. We haven't heard your beautiful voice in this conversation.
I appreciate everything that has been shared and just want to exalt the power of integrity and honesty and authenticity in the process of repair. Because again, it's all about connection. And at the end of the day, if connection is the intention, that will be felt eventually, for sure.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And I will also say that one of the questions that people tend to ask when we introduce this is, yeah, but what if somebody needs to repair with me? I can think of a lot of people who need to repair with me before I repair with them, right? And yes, this is one of the things that is hard to convey until people actually try it and experience it. That by taking accountability for what they have accountability, what they can take accountability for. I think I did that right. They're addressing what's within their control. And we can't make anybody else repair with us. And it's a stretch unless people are familiar with this whole idea of repair to even go to somebody and say, I need you to make a repair with me. Like I can do that with my close people, but you can't do that with your colleague at work who keeps being late to the meeting, right? So I don't know, maybe you can. Maybe you have a great relationship with them, but the more you repair and own what you can, even for small things, the more you will find that people will come forward in a way that feels reparative to you. And just trusting in that if you repair a lot, you don't have to do a lot of clearing things with other people. So I wanted to make sure to add that piece. And I'm going to pass it actually back over to Caitlin. We have a couple of things we want to share with you about. This is being recorded. So if you're watching this recording, please attend to the dates of the things that we're sharing about, because they might be past by the time you get to them. But I'll let Caitlin share a little bit about what's going on at AHA in general.
Yes, thank you, Melissa, and thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. We so appreciate sharing this community with all of you. And on that note, here are a few upcoming offerings from AHA. So upcoming parent groups, if you're curious to learn more about our parent groups, our next one will be on April 3rd, and the topic is resilient parenting. And then we have the topic of difficult conversations. That's on May 1st. And then finally, promoting agency. Agency is so important. And that is on June 5th. And then also coming up in April, I am so excited to share, we have Sing It Out, AHA Sing It Out, which is such an uplifting event at the Lobero Theater. In fact, tickets are on sale from and through the Lobero Theater. And this is an extraordinary event where a group of teens really step more into their power of self-expression through music making. And so they get on stage and they rock it out with a full live rock band and they sing and do something so courageous, and we all just get to dance in the aisles and celebrate them, and it's joyous. So we hope you will join us on April 28th for Sing It Out. And then we also have our 6 free sessions. So these are our 6 free clinical sessions available to all AHA teens, parents, and guardians. Please contact Melissa Melissa is here for more information. Her email is melissa@ahasb.org. And actually, if you fill out the survey this evening, then you are eligible for these sessions, and they are wonderful and so meaningful. It's amazing how much can be accomplished even in 6 sessions. So please take advantage of that. And email clinical@ahasb.org if you are interested. Yes, Melissa.
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to say that we now have this new clinical email address, so you don't have to email me directly, although you certainly can. Clinical@ahasb.org goes to both clinical liaisons who can help set people up with therapists.
Fantastic. Yes. So we just want to clarify clinical@ahasb.org if you are interested in the 6 free sessions. And then looking towards summer, which I know it's wild that we're already looking ahead to summer, but here we are. We have our digital cleanse summer camp. It's a blast. It's at El Capitan. It's wonderful. And then we also have our summer intensive. So if you are curious about either of those or to learn more, you can certainly look on our website, or please email Paulina@ahasb.org. Paulina is also bilingual, to inquire about either or both of these programs. They will definitely both be worth it to look into. I can promise you that. And I think I'm getting all the things. Yes, that's everything. We hope you will stay in touch with us. And I will pass it to Melissa.
Thank you. Yes, and I'm not sure whether the chat is going to our guests, our attendees. I hope it is, because we have this survey that we would love for you to fill out. It's very brief. It helps us know if we are hitting the mark in terms of this offering. And if you are not receiving the survey link in your chat, Sarah, I'm just not sure. Like, I'm not sure if the attendees get the chat. We have to make sure we
They should be receiving the chat from me. Just so you
okay.
know.
Okay, good. If not, there's also a QR code on the slide deck that you can scan with your phone. And yes, learn more about ahasb.org. And again, our email addresses are up there for me and for our community enrollment coordinator, who can hopefully maybe get your kiddo set up with AHA or let you know about other parent offerings. And I think we can go ahead and call it a night. We can say goodnight to our 2 attendees who are still hanging. Thank you for hanging with us. And thank you to my co-panelists and to our beautiful interpreters.